From Channel Seed Studios. Welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Hook. My name's Ken Miller. I'm on Des Moines Sports Station 106.3 KXNO along with Trent Condon, weekdays 11 to 1. My partner is Mike Palm. He's the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports out in Las Vegas. And let's head out there and catch up with him. It kind of seems like a quiet time, right, in sports. There's a lot of, obviously, the winter sports are down to their final four in each. We'll touch on that a little bit. We've got the second major coming up. Baseball continues to move on. A busy slate of action here this afternoon. Mike, good to talk to you as always. Let's start there. What is afternoon baseball when you get 4 or 5, maybe 6 games taking place in the afternoon? I guess early morning for some of them out there, 10 o'clock first pitch. Then you catch up with the West Coast teams. What does that do business-wise?
Yeah, they really kind of push Wednesdays in the scheduling stuff. But the big draw today was the second leg of Man City and Real Madrid. We actually had quite a few people here for that. Arguably the biggest soccer game since the World Cup final this year. And, of course, Man City wins and moves on to play Inter Milan. Sort of an anticlimactic final because Man City will be a huge favorite there in the one-game final. It helps us because you get people in here betting, and it gets people out to the book, and it gives it some life, especially as you get to around noon, 1 o'clock Pacific time. Like the Dodgers and Twins was a good matchup today.
Till Pagan came in.
Although May went out early, and then I've been singing Sonny Gray's presence. He couldn't even get to 5 and dive. It was 4 and dive today. Yeah, and they had a 3-2 lead until Emilio Pagan showed up on the scene.
De Leon was really good, and then they turned it over to Pagan and made a mistake, I thought. Anyways, that's interesting. So the Dodgers, Mike, have they now, in your mind, taken over as the team to beat in the National? I mean, the Braves are still there, obviously. I find it hard to find a third-place team. If you're doing power rankings in the National League, it's the Dodgers and the Braves. I think right now it's a huge gap to 3.
I think there's a gap between the Braves and the Dodgers. I don't have the Dodgers ahead of the Braves. I mean, it depends. I mean, I think you throw Syndergaard every 5th day. I mean, what they're pitching in 1 or 2 innings. I mean, he's awful. Yeah. Now, May went out early today. I mean, he's probably been, Kershaw and May have been the best 2 starters. Urias has been up and down a little bit. He eats some innings for you. I still think they don't even compare to the rotation of the Braves and they just keep bringing up young arms you never heard of making their first starts too.
Right. And Soroka's going to be back at some point.
Soroka's going to be back. Edler's like third in the ERA in the major leagues through 9 starts. I mean, it's pretty amazing. This Padres team, I don't know what they were down 4-2 last I saw.
To the Royals, the
Omaha Storm Chasers, I call them. I said, I said to my buddy who lives in San Diego, I sent him a text today. I said, they're down 4-3 in the ninth. I said, your ace, Yu Darvish, can't even beat a bullpen day from the Omaha Storm Chasers. That's a problem there. I'd say, now I'm going to be in New York City next weekend with my family. I might go to the Padres or at the Yankees, and I've never been to the stadium. So maybe I'll take the family Friday night. Our first night in town to the game.
Is that a bucket list stadium for you? Had you been to the old Yankee Stadium prior to?
No, I've never been to New York City.
Wow.
This will be my first time in New York City. I've never been to Boston either. I'd like to go see Fenway.
It's really nice.
I'd like to go there. So many places have new parks now, so it's hard. Tiger Stadium is Comerica. I've been there many times. I was to the old Tiger Stadium though too.
Did you?
Yes. Anyhow, Padres. I tell you, I don't know what it is. If it's a lack of culture, if it's misevaluating on pitchers, my future tickets don't look good on the Padres right now. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, Kenny.
Well, the good news is you're gonna have to find 3 wild cards somewhere in there, and it's if you're 500, do you make the playoffs? Maybe if you win 84 games, are you a wild card team in the National League?
It's possible. I would say that the Phillies will probably be a wild card. I believe that. They get Harper back.
Mm-hmm.
Central is very hard, hard to digest. I don't know if the Pirates can hang on. I mean, Richie Hill threw 6 innings of one-hit ball today.
Did you see him chasing down Cabrera on the race to first
I did.
base?
I did.
What
It
is
was like
83
Jurassic
years
Park.
between the two of them?
Jurassic Park, I called it.
Yeah.
You're right, though. I mean, are the Cardinals going to right the ship? The Brewers seem like they're going to hang around. The Cubs, I don't know. It's really hard. Who knows? Are the Giants and D-backs good enough? You can put all those names in the mix, really.
Mm-hmm.
D-backs got a couple pretty good starting pitchers.
Yeah, I'll say.
Carry him a little ways.
Yeah, that's for sure. Back to the Central for a second. You know who's going to win the Central Division? St. Louis Cardinals. As we tape this here today, they're mired in last place, but they're starting to come to life.
Yeah, and they're starting to score some runs.
That's
one thing. They played so awful at home too. Their home record was unbelievable, but that's the two Central divisions are really up for grabs to me. Yeah. I mean, the 3 or 4 teams. I'm not convinced the White Sox can't win still the AL Central when I look at it, when I really study it.
Mm-hmm.
Who strikes fear in your heart? Cleveland can't score. Minnesota's one starting pitcher away from being in trouble again. I just the Tigers have been in second for a while, but there's Lance Lynn pitched well last night. If he can get back in form, if you just look at the names, the White Sox should be the clear favorites in the division, but they just don't play like it.
No, I'm with you. Condon thinks I'm crazy because I'm the same stance you have. I don't think the White Sox are out of it. Oh. Even they're 15 up and 28 down, and they're still a pulse. But you hit the nail on the head. It's the Central divisions, right?
Yeah, they're really up for grabs. So, they're still betting baseball on a daily basis, looking at pitching matchups and situational stuff is still fun, and maybe doing a little bit more of it now as we wind down in the NBA and NHL.
Yeah, that's true. And I hate to say that we're coming to that point, but we are. How about Kevin Gossman's performance on Tuesday night? Struck out 10, walked 2, didn't figure in the decision. I'm telling you, this guy's a live Cy Young play right now.
Same thing that against Philadelphia. Remember, he threw 8 and he was throwing 98. And then they give up the run in the 9th and lost the game on the air. I mean, he's
Bichette,
like dominant, but his record doesn't show it because he's not factoring in any of the wins or the losses. I think he's real live. I think it's up for grabs. I don't think Shohei has not pitched well, and he's not out of it.
No.
I think it's a big start for Cole tonight against the Blue Jays. A real big start. And Bassett's had 2 dynamic games back to back. I bet
perfect game.
I bet under 4 first 5 here in this game that's just getting underway at Yankee Stadium.
Interesting, and not a perfect game, a complete game in his last game, in his last start. Yeah, that was good. That was certainly good to see. All right, PGA starts this weekend. Masters is over. We're kind of. I love the fact the change. I mean, everybody's football crazy, right? When we get to August, May needed this event. I think it's in a perfect spot. You guys have got all your numbers up. You got your head-to-head matchups. What when you put these numbers up, what did the bettors gravitate to right off the bat? Anything jump off?
I'm waiting for it. Hasn't come in yet. Jeff Davis is going to provide us an update this afternoon, Kenny, but we haven't gotten it yet. Putting together what our position is, and then when they tee off tomorrow, of course, what we'll have. So I can update that for you maybe on the radio on Friday.
Good deal. Is there a number, Mike? I mean, I'll ask it this way. Would you bet a John Rahm at 8-1 or a Scheffler at 7.5-1? Don't you need double digits, maybe 20-1 to play?
I think in golf, you need like 18-1 to even look at somebody. But I don't do it for a living, so I don't speak with any authority on that.
Right.
You got 50 plus people in the field. How do you take 7-1?
Right.
It's like, how do you bet a team to win the Super Bowl at 4-1? I mean, it's ludicrous as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like Buffalo last year, 6-1, a ridiculous price. I just feel that it doesn't make sense against the field that you have to play against that are live people that have a possibility of winning it. I mean, if there's 14 teams or 12 teams that can win the Super Bowl, why would you take 5-1 or something like that? And if there's 30 guys that could win this tournament, why would you take 8-1?
Does it seem like we are, as we sit here in the middle of May, as we switch to the NFL, you mentioned short prices. Chiefs are going to be a really short price. I have to assume the Eagles in the NFC are going to be that other team. I think the Eagles improved. I loved their draft. Their defense was good to begin with. Hurts continues to take steps forward. The Eagles, to me, have caught my eye, Mike.
I worry about losing your coordinators. I think that's
Fair.
the biggest concern. But boy, the NFC, who knows? It's just
It's kind of like the National League in baseball. There's a couple of teams only.
I don't know, but I don't know if it's that. I think the National League in baseball is better than the NFC, really, because I don't know who's the second best team. Can you tell me?
Niners.
Okay, but with what quarterback?
Fair point. Hopefully Brock Purdy, because we saw what he did last year, and I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
It's a shame he got hurt because it would have been a much better NFC Championship game. Yeah, I think you could make the argument the Niners. I just think the Eagles, the concern about the coordinators is well stated, but the Eagles maybe more tower over the NFC than even the Chiefs do. And if you could argue the Chiefs are a better team, but there's more competition in the AFC. Who knows at the end of the day? They do play each other this year on a Monday night in Kansas City and the Monday before Thanksgiving.
Outstanding. Yeah, well, schedules come out. So did the schedule? Yeah, we've talked about the schedule being out on our last show. So what did that do? What did that do business wise? Once the players, the pros, whoever it is that comes after these numbers when they come out, they've got everything in front of them now, right? The draft's behind it. They have the schedule.
Yep. And so the people that are local or bet on their apps, they're starting to put their bets in. And then as the tourists come, during the summer, you'll see a ton of NFL and then, of course, college football when we get that up wagering over the midsummer.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the winter sports. And sadly, they're going to come to an end here within the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll save the hockey for a second because I want to go a couple of different directions with the vote that took place last night in Tempe. We'll get to that and maybe try and place the Coyotes where their next stop is going to be. But the NBA last night, the number really moved. So where did you open Denver and the Lakers? And it depended on where you bet and obviously what side you were on, how your ticket cashed. But that number moved.
It moved from, I thought I saw 5 early. It was 5.5. Then it was 6 yesterday, then 6.5. And I think it ticked to 7 right before close. I know a guy that hit a real nice ticket. He waited to the end. He had a 4-team money line parlay over the weekend, which closed with Denver money line. And I had talked to him at lunch yesterday, and he said, "What'd you do?" I said, "Well, the game's at 6. I mean, wouldn't you take the points and try to middle it here? I mean, that's what I would do for." And he ended up getting 6.5 and hit it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, he called me last night. Thanks a lot. He said. I said, "Well, that's just everybody's different."
Yeah.
But I mean, when it's that many, I mean, if it's 3, I don't. But if it's 6, that's more than two possessions or more. So.
Nuggets, what did you see last night? I mean, Jokic, I don't watch a lot of Denver Nugget basketball. I don't think the country watches a lot of Denver Nugget basketball. But watching this guy, if there was a higher league, he'd be in it and be starring in it.
How's he not the MVP? I mean,
Right?
To me, it's not even close when you watch the games.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he's a very smart player. Mm-hmm. He can play back to the basket, facing the basket, beyond the three-point arc, in the post, on the elbow, everything. I said, and as I watched the first round, I said, "Oh boy, it looks like Denver might be the best team here."
Yeah.
I don't, watch a lot of NBA, but I just thought the fluidity of their offense and what they could do when they run it through him, and they got some guys that can shoot and are very athletic on the wings, that they were the most consistent team. So, a Celtics Nuggets final would be terrific for us because we have a little liability to the Heat. To win the East.
Yep.
Of course, all the money on the
Lakers.
It's like 1.2 million now. We got it down from 1.5. It's 1.2 if they win it. So Nuggets and Celtics would be perfect. We would be a nice winner either way.
Who would be the favorite in that series? Boston?
Yeah,
Slight?
I don't know if the public would tolerate that. I don't know. I would think Denver might be it's 120 one way or the other.
Right.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I mean, Boston looked bad at home a couple times against Philly. Mm-hmm. Denver's had no false steps at home either. I think that you factor that in.
Well, I'm with you. I'd take Malone over Boston's rookie head coach any day of the week. I think he's got it. I think Spoelstra's going to school him with Miami. Oh, yeah. Is this going to be a series? Is Miami the Celtics going to be good?
Well, I think Miami's big two got to play well, and I say Bam is part of their big two, but
yeah.
if they do and Butler plays well, I think, like you said, what's the coaching mismatch worth? 3-4 points a game, maybe.
Yep.
That's what it's that extreme.
Yep.
So I hope it's a series. I mean, it's better for us Boston wins, but I don't want it to be a 4 or 5 game series. Obviously, it attracts crowds to the book and to our property when they play.
Absolutely. Well, we're down to 4 in hockey. We'll save that for a second. Let's talk about
what about the Preakness? What about
I've got the Preakness on my list. I'm going to get to it. That's what I was going to close with.
All right.
Let's go with Arizona. They had a vote. Bettman wants hockey in the desert in a worse way. He just does. I get it. I mean, Austin Matthews. He might not be a hockey player if the Jets don't move there. They have to move, don't they, Mike? And if they do, where should they go? Salt Lake seemingly is in the hunt. Houston wants an NHL team. Big market.
Well, Houston's a big city.
Yep.
It's not even comparison. Houston's the 4th largest city in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in terms of a market, I think it can support the team better.
Yeah.
Then I don't know if there's more interest per capita in Salt Lake, but I don't know. You'd have to study the thing, but Dallas sure supports the Stars, right? Oof. I mean, I look at my wife even says, she goes, boy, they're really rabid, those fans, aren't they? Because she was watching Game 7 there.
Yeah.
She said, I'm pulling for Seattle. I said, I have a future ticket on Dallas. She goes, but I want the Knights to play Seattle. I think we can beat Seattle.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a heck of a series. And you're right, you do have a nice futures ticket on that. What about who returns first? The Nordiques or the Expos? Or none of the above?
Not the Expos. I don't think the Expos. I think Canada has bound behind the Blue Jays. It's just a national team, right?
Oh, that's true.
I never knew all these people that live in Alberta and British Columbia love the Blue Jays.
That's our team.
Which is different because in hockey, everybody's very parochial, right? But the whole country loves the Blue Jays. It's because you see here, look when they play in LA. I mean, the Angels, it's all blue in the stands. I mean,
how about Seattle with the BC people?
Yeah, they love them. I was really blown away by that. Only did I figure that out in the last few years. But that's really a national team.
Yeah, they are. They're Canada's team.
More so than like the Raptors.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They love the Blue Jays.
Yeah, they do. It's funny. I get all that. Well, you must be cheering for Edmonton now. No, I'm not cheering for the Oilers. I'm not going to cheer for the Maple Leafs. I'm going to cheer for the Jets. When the Jets get knocked out, I'm going to cheer for my futures ticket. I couldn't care. Now, would I like the Stanley Cup to go back to Canada? Of course, but I'm not going to shed a tear when the Oilers get knocked out or the Leafs.
Do you think that they will put a team in Quebec City?
I don't. I think it's going to be a big market. I could see Houston getting it. I know the owner of the Utah Jazz badly wants a team in Salt Lake in that building. They've had the Winter Olympics there. Hockey went over very well, but it's a different brand of hockey, clearly. They do have an AHL team, or they did have an AHL team out there. I don't know. We'll see. Let's talk about the Final Four. Eastern Conference up first. We'll save Vegas and Dallas, which I think is going to be a good series. Look, Florida goes up against Boston, who won more games in the regular season than any other team in history. Knocked them out in Game 7. Toronto Maple Leafs, this is their year. 67. That's okay. It's finally coming to an end. Knocked them out in 5. Paul Maurice has this team playing well. Matthew Tkachuk, if they win, is going to be the win the Conn Smythe. What do you think? Who wins the East?
Well, and Bobrovsky's playing very well, and so is Freddie Anderson. And we've seen a lot of high-scoring playoffs. I tend to think these 2 conference finals may finally come back to the unders.
Oh.
The Knights and Stars through the Knights' history play very low-scoring games. A lot of 1-2-1, 3-0, 3-1 games. I think it'll be that way. I can see Bobrovsky and Anderson playing very well here, and you get 6s on these. Of course, I don't like to play the full game, but I just think they'll be lower scoring. I'm surprised right now that Carolina sits as the favorite to win the Cup, because the Knights are the number 1 seed in the West. Why wouldn't they be the favorite? Now, I guess it's because, the lines are shaded out here because of all the liability. We don't need any more money on the Knights. But
right, yeah.
If you go to different books, the Stars are anywhere from the 2nd to 4th choice. It's funny. I can, on my 40-1 ticket, lay minus 475. They don't win it right now.
So what are you going to do?
Is a no price, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I could lock up 3,000 or 4,000 by doing that. Although I like them against the Knights. I think I want to let it go. I think that they'll win one of the first two in Las Vegas, and then they'll be a favorite heading back to Dallas in the series. There'll be a small favorite, like maybe minus 140, and you could bet the Knights as a hedge at a plus price.
We know how much a bigger role goaltending plays in this series. I think Dallas has a big edge. I think Florida has a big edge.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think Anderson's playing well right now, and so I make that a toss-up. Ottinger has not played well. He's been very disappointing in the playoffs.
Better in Game 7, though.
Yeah, but they also played better in front of him.
Okay.
They played better in front of him, and he played okay. The goal with 19 seconds wasn't his fault. They had 2 shots to control that face-off, and they didn't. But he's always played well. The Knights have, whether it was Ben Bishop or Khudobin, remember in the bubble in Edmonton, or I don't know where they played it in.
Edmonton, I think, yeah.
Dallas beat the Knights in that Western Conference final. The Knights were huge favorites in 2020. Yeah. So I think
Tampa beat them right in the bubble.
And then Tampa beat them 4-2 to win the cup in the bubble. Yeah. That was Jim Montgomery's team, and he got fired during the course of that year.
Early in the year, wasn't it?
I think it was December he got fired, around the holidays when he had the issues with whatever. But I would I said to you last round, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Florida Dallas final, and I still feel that way.
East or West? One East Coast team, or Eastern Conference, Western Conference. What are you going to bet?
Oh, I would bet the West.
Kind of like the East. This Florida team is really good.
Well, if it goes to games, how about if you had Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, the Knights and Florida? Paul Maurice has never lost a Game 7, and Dallas and Florida. Paul Maurice has never lost a Game 7, and Pete DeBoer has never lost a Game 7. Paul Maurice is 5-0, and Pete DeBoer is 8-0.
I didn't know that about Maurice, and he coached my squad for a decade.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did see that nugget on DeBoer. Well, it's going to be fascinating. All right, the Preakness. So let's start with the bad side of the Preakness. Only one horse from the Derby's going to make a return 2 weeks later, and that's the Derby winner, Maj. Is it time to tweak the scheduling of the Triple Crown?
I think this year is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I think it should be.
It's embarrassing, Kenny.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing that only the winner comes back, and he only comes back because he won.
Yes.
And he's got a shot at the Triple. He has to come back. No other horse comes back. I mean, you've got to change the schedule. I think you got to change the prize structure to where you give these horses points. There's a points, and the most points wins 2-3 million, whatever, and you get assigned points that encourages horses, and you race them 3 weeks and 3 weeks, or a month and a month apart. But it's really hard on a 3-year-old. It's really hard.
Terrible. And the breeding has changed so much. From
when it was Secretariat and Aladar and Slew, and these horses then firmed, you know what I mean? That could, or even even the horses in the 90s that kept going to Belmont and getting nosed out at the wire to win the whole thing, right? It's changed. It's really hard for them to do this, and the health of the horses has to be a concern as well.
I'm with you. So what do? You do push the Preakness back to the Belmont weekend, and the Belmont weekend to July the 4th weekend, maybe?
You can't take the Derby off the first Saturday.
No, you have to have it there. Yeah, that's a non-starter.
I think you do, and maybe you even make it 5 weeks and run the Belmont. When does Saratoga start their meet?
Middle of July, roughly.
Yeah, you probably got to run it 4th of July weekend then, or wherever, right there. Yeah, because you can't push it into Saratoga.
I don't think so. But I think it's time to do it, just for the simple reason. It's just, as you said, it's embarrassing that only the Derby winner is going to make. Now, is he going to win, Maj?
I don't know anything about the other horses. Other than that, they're most of them are fresh. I mean, I'm not betting him at 8-5.
Nor am I.
No.
And I will bet against him if he gets to the Belmont with the Triple Crown on the line.
Somebody asked me, what would you bet him at? I said I probably would take 7-2 or 3-1 for me to bet him in this race. 8-5, no shot.
No, and you're not going to get it, no doubt about that. Busy week out there for you. What do you got going on? What have you been working on?
Well, we got game 1 for the night, so we have players coming in for that Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And then these Lakers draws. It's nice the way they lined up because Lakers Nuggets opposite of Night Stars.
Oh, good.
So it's every other day. It's perfect for us. There's no competition for that. It's a little bit of a respite. It's EDC, so no big gaming events. It's all these young kids come out to,
But they're miles away from Fremont Street, right?
Well, a lot of them stay here.
Oh,
maybe
do
not
they?
Circa, but at the D, we get a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
And they pack them 8 to a room, and then they go out there at 11 o'clock at night and stay out there till 7 in the morning. And then I don't know. I did it one time. Derek takes a group every year. One
Does
night
he really?
took us. So it was 9 years ago because I was 40, and I went and I felt way too old then. So
You were.
we actually got a ride back because they don't come back till it ends at sunup. And at 3:30 in the morning, I said, "No, we can't make. I'm not going to make it. I can't deal with the lights and the
boom, boom, boom." Yeah.
We ended up getting a ride back. So
yeah, don't blame you. Good stuff. Talk to you Friday on the radio.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. That's going to do it for the Hook for this week. We'll see you next week. For Mike Palm, Ken Miller, thanks for being with us on Iowa Everywhere, and we'll see you next time.